To McAllen, Texas. At this meeting, there will be discussion and action on the board on the items and subjects listed as follows. Items listed on this agenda may be taken in an order other than as shown on this agenda. Attention, the regular business portion of the meeting for the public, beginning with agenda item number 3, will begin approximately at 6 p.m. Item number 2, we will recess into closed session. The Board of Trustees may go into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. A, human resource recommendations for school year 2014-15. B, human resource employee resignations for school year 2014-15. Any pending and or potential litigation, and any possible real estate acquisition. And now at 5:18, we will recess into closed session. 6:01, we will reconvene in open session. Trustee Saldivar will lead us in the invocation.
Dear God, we have come together in your name to work for the good of our schools. Stay with us, your invisible presence, and pour your spirit upon us. Make us your gifts in a spirit of trust and guidance, and a spirit of prudence and understanding, so that children of our district may experience an abundance of learning, compassion, and peace. Let harmony reign among us, and let us keep our eyes ever fixed on you. In your holy name we pray, amen.
Amen. And Trustee Ball will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated. And we will now move on to item 6A, Board Committee Reports. Trustee Esparza will give us the report on the instructional services briefing. Trustee Esparza?
Thank you, Madam President. We did meet on Friday morning, Mrs. Alcarte, Mrs. Aliceda, and myself. We had one item, there was a couple of items. One of them has to do with the college readiness program that the district provides, which Mrs. Alcarte will speak to you later this evening. Also, I think there's one item up for approval tonight. It's item 8A1 regarding the fast phone completion initiative. And there's a couple of recognitions also on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Esparza. We'll move to item 6A2, Business Operations Briefing. Trustee Saldivar?
Thank you, Madam President. On Friday, February the 6th, Mrs. DeShazo and I met with Ms. Lopez. It was in high noon, and we discussed 3 items, one of which requires action this evening, Madam President. We discussed 6B2, report regarding tax collections. Also 6B3, report regarding delinquent tax collections for a period of October 1st, 2014 to December 31st, 2014. And I believe we have Mr. Iran Gutierrez who will be doing that presentation for us shortly. And also items 8C1, which is approval of 2014-15 updated lists of certified professional development and appraisal system, or PADAS, appraisers, which will require action this evening. And that concludes our report.
Thank you, Trustee Saldivar. We'll now move to item 6A3, District Operations Briefing. Trustee Vela?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our committee met last Wednesday at noon also. 2 items that were discussed during our committee meeting were to be presented on tonight's agenda. One is a report from our family treatment program, and the other agenda item is a policy manual update. It's routine, and it consists of changes or updates in some of our policies. The highlight of our meeting was, however, the tour of the stadium construction, that renovation or the restructuring or the reutilizing, whatever you want to call it, of the stadium at this point. As y'all recall, that between the city and the school district, we pledged to put in $5 million into upgrading our stadium. The most obvious at this point will be that the lights. I think everyone's had a chance to go by and some evening, I think tonight when we get out of our meeting, there'll be a soccer game going on and you'll all be able to see the lights. The lights are amazing. One of the things we were asking was how much difference did it make? And I think the way it was explained to us that they gridded out playing surface every 5 yards from north to south and east to west, and they plotted this grid, and they took measurements or readings of the light candles, or foot candles, I think is what the foot candles. And the average was somewhere around 17 before, maybe. And I know you're smiling because I remembered this, and you told me I wouldn't remember it. And then the new lights were installed, and I think the number jumped to 75.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea of how much better we've improved the lighting on our surface. And then some of the comments from both coaches and players and staff is that it's like playing in daylight. So.
That explains all those drop passes.
Yeah, that they won't drop any more passes. But also interesting in our tour was all of the infrastructure that had to be rerouted. I mean, there was more cut concrete from the basements of that stadium than you can imagine. They rerouted sewer lines and water lines and practically re-plumbed it, if you will. Not only for the present plan at hand, but for any future expansion or modifications that we may want to make to the stadium in the future. In other words, we're preparing for anything that may come along instead of having to redo it all at the next time in the future. The other thing that was interesting was we toured the facility with the electrical engineer who was working on the project, and he told us there were just miles and miles and miles of electrical lines that had to be pulled, and they had panels feeding panels feeding panels. So what they've done is they've really rewired the entire stadium, again, for present plans and any future expansion or any future plans, whether or not we use it in any time in the future. So a lot of the groundwork was being laid for not only cleaning up and completing this project, but any projects that may come in the future. We also noticed that there was a lot of space in that building. There's second stories that have storage, and there was some discussion about touring those and seeing what's actually in that building. The whole east side of the building has the old central kitchen. And after having toured the new central kitchen last week, it's amazing what we did out of that stadium. You know, congratulations to our staff for doing what they did. But anyway, it was a very eye-opening, very complete stadium tour, and I was happy to have taken it and look forward to completing it. We're still shooting for the end of June to be our completion date. We've gone through mobilization, we've gone through demolition, and most of the demolition. We're putting in structure utilities now. The indoor lights, plumbing, and fixtures, they will be done between February and May. Our fences, our outside fences, and all our gates to comply with ADA will be done between now and April. Finishing touches after May, and then site utilities, sewers, and all the reconnects will be done probably near the end by June. So it's proceeding very well, and looking forward to what will be a pretty good new stadium. Oh, and they've addressed the leaks. The leaks, because the stadium was built in structures, and there's slabs that are built, and between the slabs there was like a 2 or 3 inch. And that's why when people came into the stadium, they said it was leaking underneath. Well, they've addressed those leaks, or they are addressing those leaks. Hopefully they'll take care of it for the next 35 years. The concession stands are being completely reworked. The stadium, the locker rooms for the teams playing, both the home team and the visiting team, are being reworked. Unfortunately, we're not getting a bigger space. We're just redoing the footprint. But you'll see a new stadium when you go in it next fall, and they will be able to catch those passes, Mr. Esparza.
All right.
Thank you. Yes.
Has anyone complained about the lights being so bright it affects their houses? 'Cause some-
And I know there was discussion about a lady who would complain because she complains every time we have a football game or have something at the stadium, but I don't think we've had anybody complain at this point that the stadium lights. Actually, those lights,
Go down.
they're more efficient than the ones we had before, and they focus on the stadium. It's not a glow, it's a direct light, and it's spread out, and it's more efficient than it was before.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vella. And now we'll move to item 6B1, report regarding college readiness activities. Ms. Alcarte?
Good evening, Ms. De La Garza, Dr. Ponce, and board members.
Good evening.
I have a very detailed, very lengthy college readiness report for this month, only because we're at a point already where their deadlines are fast approaching for all of our students. And I want to make sure that our community, and especially our parents, are aware of the deadlines and, most importantly, the resources that we have available for them to be able to help with the process of college admissions. January starts the fast-moving approach to our seniors graduating, but let's not forget that our underclassmen also have a lot of deadlines that they need to meet as they're preparing for their next year of schooling next year. Here's just an example of the busyness of our calendars. This is from our college admissions specialist, and you can see that we have reminders. These are calendars that are given to our seniors, but it has reminders. It has college visits when we have different colleges that come in to meet, and they're available for students to go in. Events that take place on Saturday, reminders about SAT. Here's one also from Memorial and Row. Everything that's happening in January is just trying to find different ways that we can make sure that our students are meeting all their deadlines. Of course, this is also for Achieve Ready College High School. This college specialist is also shared with Lamar Academy. So as you can see, there's always things to be done and deadlines to be met. One of the bigger pieces that we have moving forward is the Texas Success Initiative, and that is the TSI exam, which is the state exam for college entrance admissions. And these exams have been available to our seniors throughout the year. We are continuing to do these after school and on Saturdays, and as I mentioned at our last college readiness report, we are offering it to our students at no cost. Some of our surrounding districts are charging. We are using our high school allotment to be able to afford these opportunities to our students. And I'll come back to the different calendars, because one of the things that I want to point out is that not only do we have our students having to get ready through college entrance exams, but also this is also the season where they have to start applying for financial aid. And so on the 29th of January, we held a parent session. You'll notice it on all of our calendars. And we held it at this STC Cooper Center, trying to get more room for all our parents to come in. And we had a very good turnout of parents. And this meeting was just primarily to tell the parents, this is the paperwork that you're going to need, the PIN number that your child needs in submitting the FAFSA and getting them ready, knowing that most employers release their W-2 forms typically by the end of January, but really to get them prepared for the submission of their FAFSA. This is our meetings that we also had in last week of January. We had our sophomore and junior parent orientation at our 3 different high schools. These are some of the parent sessions. We always offer them in a bilingual setting, English and in Spanish, to accommodate our parents' needs. And this one was the one that we offered, as I mentioned earlier, on the 29th. We offered it really to give our parents the opportunity to ask questions. We had a very large turnout. We realized that we're going to have to move to a much larger setting for next year, because we had well over 300 parents in attendance, and that is a very good number for the seniors that we have. Here are just some of the pictures. You can see that we had different booths. STC, UTPA, and other entities joined in helping us prepare, along with one of our our own bank and doing the financial aid and financial literacy. So there was a lot of activities and a lot of parents available and our staff there to help our parents maneuver through all the paperwork. And here are some other sessions that were being held. As you can see, there are a lot of parents in attendance. And this was just an informational night. This is the auditorium setting. I know it's a little bit dark, but you can see that it was pretty full also to capacity. And then the following couple of days after that, on Saturday, the McAllen Public Library offered a college and career fair, and here we have two of our college specialists that represented McAllen ISD, Joanna Covos, who is our dual enrollment advisor, and Evelyn Ramos, who is the college specialist at Mac High. We're available for our parents also to answer more questions. This was an opportunity for the public to come in, but it was open to everyone through the McAllen Public Library. And then we start into February, and as you can see, the calendars are just as filled with, especially completing the FAFSA and the TASFA that is now available for our students. So again, reminders about cap and gowns, reminders about, submitting, taking your ACT, SAT, senior letters of acceptance, everything that we try to do to get our students on track and making sure that they are working well in advance to be ready for college admissions. One other thing that we did this February, we did it just this past week, was, if you recall earlier this year, I reported to you that our sophomores and juniors had taken the PSAT test in October. We get the results usually late December, early January, and our counselors went in and spoke to all our juniors through their English classes, go over the scores to show them also the importance of them preparing to take the SAT and what the PSAT score tells them about what they need to do to prepare. But you'll also notice that there's a lot of financial aid assistance before and after school for our students in case they have any questions through our college specialists. One of the things that we have coming forward is also going to be parent orientation, and we had that this past week also for our incoming, for our current freshmen at all of our high schools, different sessions both in English and Spanish. And one that is coming up, which is very important for our community, and that is what is called a Super Saturday. We are a part of a collaborative group throughout the Valley that are joining forces and offering financial aid assistance in filling out the paperwork to all our parents. This will be on Saturday the 21st, and there's different locations. For our families here in McAllen, the locations are going to be right here at South Texas College in Building K. And at the same time, UTPA is offering financial aid on Saturday the 21st, and that will be at the Student Center. We will have this posted also on our website. We are sending out mailers to our senior parents, just as a reminder, along with messages through ZipSlip and our automatic system where we do the calling, just as a reminder. We realize that parents are just as busy as the students, and by the time they realize the month has gone by, we want to make sure that they take advantage of all these opportunities to be able to prepare their child for financial aid. You'll notice that it has FAFSA and TASFA. The FAFSA has been what we all know as the financial aid application through the federal government. But in Texas, not always true in all the other states, but with Texas, we do have a Texas application for student financial aid. And this is most important for our students that live here in our community and anywhere here in the Valley who are either foreign students or may not have a Social Security number. This is an opportunity for them to apply for financial aid within the state of Texas. And so staff will be there also for them to be able to fill out the information. What parents need to come prepared with is going to be that they bring their completed income tax reports if they have completed them, that their child have their PIN number, and this has been announced several times to our students, that they must go into a website and acquire their own PIN number so that they can be able to submit. But if parents have not completed their income tax returns, they are encouraged to bring their W-2 statements and any other statements showing income 1099 statements, Social Security statements, and there will be their staff there available to also help them with that tax information so that they can make the submittal. And that is on Saturday, the 21st. Again, in our area, it's going to be at South Texas College, Building K, and at UTPA at the University Center with the Student Center. We ourselves will also host one for our parents on February the 26th, which is the following Thursday from 6 to 8. And our common site this year is going to be at Memorial High School. They need the same information. Bring your PIN number, which again, the students have been advised to prepare it and submit, along with their W-2 information, their tax information, and there will be staff there to also help them maneuver submitting. This is the actual submittal night. The one that we had on the 29th was just telling them this is the paperwork that you need to prepare and get ready. They answered questions. In this case, we're actually have staff, as you'll notice the different logos from A&M, South Texas College, UT Pan Am, University of Texas, different organizations that come help us with financial aid, and now, of course, the TASFA. So we do have staff there to help everyone in the actual submission. We have computers set up so that parents can be submitting them electronically, and this is the 26th. One of the things that I need to announce with this particular one is that for parents who also need help with their income tax, VITA, as you well know, in the past years has always come forward and helped with completion of income tax returns, and they are also available. This is going to be on our website. We'll post it right after this meeting. We do have several locations here in McAllen where our parents can go in for help, and the sites were open this past week, and most of them will be open through March the 5th, some a little bit later. But we do have some just around the corner. In our case, it's going to be here at South Texas College, here on Pecan, 3201 Pecan. The financial aid office there is open from 11 to 5 on Monday through Thursdays. We also have UT Pan American open. They opened the last week of January. They'll be open through March 5th. And a couple of other locations within McAllen. The Palmview Community Center will also be open. They will be open all the way through April the 8th, from 5 to 8 in the evenings, and from 9 to 2 on Saturday mornings. The one caution that I do have for parents is that the earlier that you make the submission, the better the chances of receiving financial aid, because the financial aid is awarded as the applications come in. So sometimes our students wait too late. Doesn't mean they won't get any financial aid. They may just not get as much because the applications are addressed as they are being submitted. And here's just an example of our March calendars. You can see, just to look forward, there's testing for our benchmarks that happened the week before, or the first week in March, but there's also our public school week. Then we have spring break, and the college and financial aid application continues right after that on the 15th. Another thing that we're doing in March is that our counselors will be doing what they call an STC cleanup. STC provides us help in ensuring that any student who is going to that particular college has completed all their paperwork. And so there will be talks with students and meeting one-to-one to make sure that all the paperwork has been completed for admissions into South Texas College. And so, once again, parents, if you have any questions, please make sure that you call the college specialists at each of our respective high schools. They are there to assist you, or through email. If nothing else, just call the high school, and they will be easily transfer you to that so they can help you.
I have a question. Yeah, the 9th. Thank you, Ms. Arcata. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Trustee
Comment,
DeShazer?
Ms. Arcata, thank you so much for all that information. It sounds like y'all are doing a great job with our students to get them prepared for their college readiness. But I do have one question. You made a comment about you went through the English classes. Was it just one English class that was taken away from them, or was it more than one? And how did the teachers feel about taking up the time in English class?
We usually do not take up English classes. If you recall, many years probably when you and I were still back at the campus level, we did a lot of our orientations through the English classes, and we've moved away from that. Majority of our presentations are done through the different classes that we have. For example, if it's with a freshman, we're doing it through the transition class. If it's at the sophomore level, we're doing it through our prep classes. At the junior level, we use our BIM classes and some of the other elective courses to be able to do it. In this particular case, part of it is that there are essays to be written, and so we try to bring the focus on your writing does, play of or affect your submission of your applications. So it's not
It was minimal,
multiple
isn't it?
days that we pull them out. It'll just be the one day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee DeShazo. Any questions, Trustee
I have a
Esparza?
comment. Speaking of essays, my youngest is in his last years, and we survived the college getting the essays done. We survived the application process, and just this week he received notice that he was accepted to Texas A&M, so he'll be attending Texas A&M in the fall. How about it, Danny? But we're looking forward to, I keep on top of him about the deadlines for the FAFSA and so forth, because I know he gets these emails, and I'll question him, and he'll say, how did you know? I said, well, because I'm getting them too, so I'm following. So, it's a lot of useful information out there for the parents.
Right, and like I said, you'll be getting, as parents, you'll be getting several reminders. We realize by the time you know it, the week has gone by, and the month is, January came and went, and now we're in February already. But also also very important is the TSI testing. We offered it to all our seniors, as I said. We're also working with our juniors and our current sophomores. But the seniors are the first ones that are being affected by this new regulation coming into the fall, especially for UTRGV. So we offered it to everyone, but now we're also continuing to offer it in the afternoons and on Saturdays. We have staff that are manning the different labs to be able to take them. And we're doing very well. We have a good number of our students who have either passed all 3 tests, because it's a reading, writing, and a math. Close to 50% that have passed at least 2 out of the 3. So we still continue to work with them and try to get them better prepared. By the time they graduate, they'll be ready to move on to non-developmental courses.
All right, any other questions or comments? Move to item 6B2, report regarding taxes collected for December 2014. Ms. Lopez?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening.
The amount collected in December was just under $23 million. If you look at the report that the Hidalgo County Tax Office provides to us, we have an original levy of just under $71 million. Modifications to date, close to $2 million. Taxes outstanding are listed there, just over $42 million still. Percent collected 41.01 as compared to last year at this time at 43.95. That is different for us to be behind and be behind almost 3 percentage points. We are looking to see what is happening with the January collections. It may be just that folks waited to pay until January, so we'll get a better indication. The other thing that we don't normally see as high is the modifications to date. On the plus side, it is a plus to us in terms of more taxes that will be collectible. But normally at this point in time, we would see about 400,000. So that's about a percentage point difference there that would be causing a percentage point difference. On the report also, we have percent collected for delinquent of 22.92% versus 19.87% as compared to a year ago. So that one's on the positive, but our current collections, which is the bulk of our monies, is lagging behind last year's. The other numbers are there listed for the board's review, but that pretty much concludes the report.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Any questions or comments from the board?
I'm just wondering, what happened last year in December that they paid? Do you know what?
I'm really hoping that between the 2 months, we're going to end up very close to it, and we should be receiving the January report any day now in terms of some folks. Everybody has to pay their taxes by January if they don't want to start incurring the additional penalties and interest. So it may just be that some folks just waited till January. So,
Because that is a substantial, it's 3%. So.
and I know the mortgage payments would not. Well, the mortgage companies would not be waiting because folks use it normally for tax deductions and so forth. So, but we are waiting to get that January report and have actually talked to the tax office too to provide us some additional information.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we move to item 6B3, report regarding the delinquent tax collections for the period of October 1, 2014 to December 31, 2014. Ms. Lopez?
Yes, ma'am, we do have Mr. Iram Gutierrez here to present the report.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Ponce.
Good evening.
For the record, my name is Iram Gutierrez with Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott, your delinquent tax attorneys. I'm here to present you with your first half of the fiscal year collections, that being July 1st through December 31st of 2014. The first 3 pages of the report outline some of the activities that have taken place, such as mailings, personal visits, etc., the litigation. I'd like to direct you to page 4. In page 4, we started with our tax sales. During this period, we have put 18 properties up for tax sale. 14 resulted in payment agreements involving over $114,000. 2 properties were struck off to the taxing entities involving over $10,800. And 2 properties were sold involving $11,519. When properties don't sell at the initial tax sale, they go to a tax resale. And during this period, we have put 6 of your properties for tax resale, collecting over $30,000 of base tax for the school district. We have also filed 16 proofs of claims in bankruptcy involving over $36,800. In page 5, we have your collections for the second quarter of this fiscal year. During that period, we collected over $406,000 in base tax and $148,000 in penalties and interest for a grand total of $555,000. In page 6, you have the 6 months collections for this period. A total of $1,437,000 in base tax and $381,000 in penalties and interest for a grand total of $1,818,000. Page 7 has a comparison of last year with last year's period with this period, and during this period we have collected 22.92% of your delinquent tax roll compared to 19.87% last year. So a little bit over 3% increase. The collections are trending upwards, and I will let you know that in January we resolved one of your largest delinquencies, bringing in over $330,000 in base tax. So delinquent tax collections are definitely in the upswing for this year. And at this point, I'd like to open it up for any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
I have a question real quick.
Yes, Trustee Esparza?
Mr. Gutierrez, good evening. I noticed you skipped over on page 5, the audit division there up on the top. I think that's important. I mean, it sounds like you found some money for us.
Yeah, we sure did, and the reason I didn't report this was on the previous report as well.
Okay.
So
this is not new funds. This was money that was already.
Right. This was already reported
Okay.
previously. This is money that's been collected during this fiscal year,
Okay.
which is over $1 million, $1,023,000 in additional state revenues for the district.
Okay. Now I noticed some of it says it goes to different sources, right?
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't all come to the district?
It all comes to the district, but for different funds, and I think Ms. Lopez can probably explain that better than I can, and how you where you put the money.
And before you go to that, but you, on a yearly basis, you look at all the different years to see if there's available funds that were somehow missed or something?
Well, we go back and look at your taxable value, and to see if there's a discrepancy between the state value for you and the local value for you. If the state value is higher, then we might want to audit or even appeal that value, because you're leaving money on the table perhaps if the state value is higher than it should be.
Okay. I'm sorry.
In terms of the collections, or even on the delinquent side, we distribute between M&O and INS.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez, for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your work.
Have a good evening.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Move to item 6B3, report, or 6B4, report regarding the licensed chemical dependency counseling services of Mesquite LLC at the Instruction and Guidance Center. Dr. Barrera?
Yes, ma'am, and good evening.
Good evening.
I'm at this point going to invite Adrian Garza. He's our director for the Family Treatment Program, to give us a report about the the licensed chemical dependency counseling services that we are offering or having in progress over at the Instructional Guidance Center. So I've got Mr. Garza with us this evening.
Good
Thank you,
afternoon,
Mr.
Mr. Garza.
Good afternoon.
Board of
Thank you.
Trustees, Dr. Ponce. Really quick, just give you all a synopsis on the actual PowerPoint once it goes up. That our referral process, when Family Treatment Program came in partnership with Mesquite LLC, our intention was to place them at the ING Center to make sure that the services that are provided to the students at the ING were of chemical dependency. After looking at what we had in place already, the referral process went up, and I just pretty much gave you a brief diagram of how it works. Everything that is stated up on top is a synopsis of what we do. We receive a referral from the our prevention prevention specialist at of the Family Treatment Program at the ING. From there, they actually refer to Mesquite Treatment Center if the student qualifies. Now, once a student qualifies for treatment, then that student either goes into individual group or classroom, individual group sessions, and Mesquite also conducts classroom sessions for students as a whole. And the idea behind this is to ensure that, of course, there's prevention involved, at the same time, intervention for students who need that type of assistance. Once these referrals are put through, if the student does not qualify for any type of services with Mesquite, then we pick up those students on our case load for family or individual counseling on our program. Screening process. Screening interview will establish if the student's symptoms are consistent with Access 1 criteria for substance abuse dependence. Only those clients assessed to have met admission criteria and who are appropriate for counseling shall be admitted to Mesquite Treatment Center, LLC. All screenings are done in compliance with the Texas Department of State and Health Services on screening, financial eligibility, and admission requirements. Now, all this, of course, they do bill Medicaid, they do bill for the services, but Mesquite, under the contract, stated that they would do pro bono work. So they do conduct pro bono work, even though the student may not have any insurance or may be indigent. Services provided. Currently, Mesquite provides screenings, assessments, group sessions, individual sessions, parent sessions, and education prevention sessions. The education prevention sessions are provided twice a month for both middle school and high school students. Since February of 2014, which has been 1 year, Mesquite Treatment Center has admitted 109 McAllen instruction and guidance students for counseling. Currently, there are 33 active clients in the program, so obviously they graduate from the program to either 12 or 18 weeks, depending on what suits the student best. Students' diagnoses resulting in admission to the program are as follows. These are pretty much, if you want to consider this, the drugs of choice for the students who are actually admitted at the ING. Out of the 109 students, 80% were actually diagnosed with marijuana dependency, 18% alcohol dependency, and 2% other, which includes various other drugs. Mesquite Treatment Center LLC offers a 90-day program. Students admitted to the program will attend group and individual sessions. Last year, students not completing the program were enrolled, while enrolled at the Instruction and Guidance Center, participated in the summer program. If they didn't complete the program during the year, they're actually put into a program during the summer so students can actually attend. And those programs are actually conducted at our Emergency Operations Center there at Crockett Annex. And the 2 weeks while we're out, they still would meet at the EOC and conduct their sessions. So we just want to make sure that there's continuity of care, that we didn't drop the ball on those 2 weeks when we're out of school, or even when the campuses are closed. We wanted to ensure that students are receiving complete treatment during this time. So.
Thank you, Mr. Garza, for your presentation. Any questions or comments? Trustee DeShazo?
Thank you very much. This treatment center, is this the one in Harlingen? Or is this an extent, do they bring those sessions here, or do we transport the students over there?
No, they actually have, we provide an office space for them at the ING Center.
Okay, and so the individuals from the treatment center in Harlingen come here and do the counseling here?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Trustee Bella?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. These treatments, this program, it's paid for usually by third parties, is that correct?
It's actually paid, well, they actually bill Medicaid and they bill private insurance. But for the most part, if the child or the family can't afford it, then they do, of course, pro bono work.
Okay, so I guess the school district facilitates their ability to get this service, is that correct?
Right. We facilitate it, and, but at no charge to the school district.
And would in your opinion, say that we have made it available to families who might not otherwise have used it
Most
had they
definitely.
not been in a school district setting, is that correct?
Yes, most definitely.
Any response from families with, I mean, on a personal note or whatever, I
Yes.
mean, what kind of response do you get?
I guess one of the biggest barriers is the stigma, that even being diagnosed with any type of either substance abuse disorder or even a mental health disorder, we deal with stigmas on a daily basis, trying to get the families to understand that it's not the children's fault.
Right.
You know, it's something that possibly could be genetic, and at the same time allowing the families to understand that, you know, it's all right for the child to receive this type of help. And it takes a lot to overcome that, but we're working our way through that.
Well, it must be very rewarding for you and your staff, and certainly I'm sure the parents and the families are very appreciative of what you all do
Yes,
for
sir.
them.
We'll
Thank you
work-
very much.
yeah.
Thank you. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Garza, for your presentation. We'll move to item 7A, which is an action item for tonight, approval of human resource recommendations for school year 2014-15. Ms. Lopez?
Yes, ma'am. We had both elementary and secondary recommendations.
This is for approval this evening.
I move to accept.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee DeShazo and a second by trustee Vella. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Item passes 6-0. Item 7B, Human Resource Employee Resignations for school year 2014-15 is for information only. Item 7C, any pending and/or potential litigation. Mr. Crane?
No report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. Item 7D, possible real estate acquisition. Mr. Crane?
No report tonight.
Thank you. Item 8A1, approval of FAFSA completion initiative participation agreement between McAllen Independent School District and the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Ms. Arcaute?
Yes, ma'am. I am requesting approval on this item tonight. Back in 2012, the Higher Education Coordinating Board, together with the U.S. Department of Education, piloted a program where school districts, in particular our counselors, would have access to the database regarding the status of a student's free application for federal student financial aid, which I earlier referred to as the FAFSA. What it did was give us an opportunity to be able to see if students were in fact submitting and applying for the financial aid. At times we would ask students, we did not have access to their data, and they would tell us, yes, we've completed it, and yet we had no way of knowing whether they had or not. What that particular agreement gave us access to was for our counselors to be able to go in, and all we were able to see is out of the, for example, 8 pages that are in the application, how many pages the student has actually completed. So we don't actually see any of the data from the parents' income, et cetera. About a week or so ago, we received notice from the TEA that they are now moving away from the pilot and having this initiative with the secondary education entities, in our case being the districts, where we would now be able to have access to this data, just assuring that we will guard the FERPA information about our students with the Privacy Act. And so going into agreement will allow us to continue to be able to monitor the submission of the FAFSA applications. So I am requesting approval tonight. It does have a deadline by the end of the month, but I would like to submit it as soon as possible so that our counselors and our campuses can be set up as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Ms. Arcaute. This is for approval tonight.
Move that we approve the recommendation submitted by administration.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Saldivar and a second by trustee DeShazo. Any questions or comments?
I just have a comment real quick.
Trustee Esparza?
And I had a concern about the information that would be available, and, but in reading through the agreement, it basically says the only information that the contact person would have is the student's name, first name, last name, their date of birth, and when their application was actually submitted. So there's no other
Yes.
confidential information that would be
There's no
available on the
conf-
website.
What it really just helps us is sometimes we'll ask the student, have you done it? Yes, ma'am, we already completed it, or yes, sir, we already completed it, and then we find out after the deadline that it was never completed. all it will tell the counselor is they have completed 3 of 8 pages.
Right.
And that's it. And that's where we then reach out to the parents and say, okay, it's still missing information. You know, sometimes the parents say, well, we completed everything. Well, somehow it didn't quite transition over to FAFSA, and then they can go in then and themselves figure out, okay, what was missing, why did it not go through.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments? So with the motion by trustee Saldivar and a second by trustee DeShazo, I'll move for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
those opposed, same sign. Item passes 6-0.
Thank you.
At this time, 6:46, I will recess the 5 PM meeting and open the special meeting. Special meeting of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District will be held on Monday, February 9th, beginning at 6:45 PM in the Boardroom Admin Building of the McAllen Independent School District, 2000 North 23rd Street in McAllen. There will be no discussion or action by the board. No presentations shall exceed 5 minutes. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint 1 person to present their views before the board. Please respect the privacy of others and refrain from identifying students, employees, or other community members by name. Disruption of the meeting will not be tolerated at any time. And we will now convene in open session, and our first speaker is Ms. Ruth Scout. And the topic is focus on the children regarding the bond election.
Is it working? Charm, okay.
Take it. Yeah. Good evening, Ms.
McAllen ISD Board of Education. My name is Ruth Scow, and I represent the McAllen Federation of Teachers and the Rio Grande Valley AFL-CIO Central Labor Council. We have a total of 25,000 voters among our various union families in the Rio Grande Valley, including Hidalgo and Cameron County. Tonight, we would like to talk about the children of our district and the $440 million election. I have in-depth experience with our last bond election as I was part of the steering committee. The children need a safe and secure school environment. Their teachers, librarians, counselors, nurses, paraprofessionals, administrative staff, custodial staff, and kitchen staff need the same environment. We want the children to have the best we can afford. I know that McAllen ISD has higher standards regarding building safe and secure facilities as opposed to surrounding school districts. Previous school boards have always thought carefully and have spent citizens' resources wisely. Recently, administrative staff showed the expenses of bonded indebtedness over the years, and we urge you to present that information again. The last time we saw the figures, they were difficult to read. Other taxing concerns include the following: a bond for the new county courthouse, paid for with bonds by Hidalgo County taxpayers. A hospital district paid for with bonds by Hidalgo County taxpayers. The new home development taken in by the city of McAllen, where in Monte Cristo. Homes will cost from $120,000 to $500,000. An IDEA Academy will be built inside the development. Another IDEA campus is just 2 miles away. The development will not pay taxes for 30 years. The developer has created other developments, but they have not done well. South Texas College will go to the voter again in 3 years for additional bond money. Will the bond decision affect employee raises? The MISD board needs to let the employees know whether they will continue to get raises. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scow. And also, just a quick side note, all of the information presented in today's workshop is available and live on the web. We'll move to speaker number 2, Ms. Veronica Ayala, and the topic is support of the FFAC by giving an educator's perspective of the effects more modern facilities can have on teaching and its impact on student achievement and learning.
Ms. Ayala, you have 5 minutes, and I'll give you a 2-minute. once you're
Okay.
done.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good evening. My name is Veronica Ayala, and I'm here to offer an educator's perspective on the need for modernized facilities to enhance student learning and safety. I felt the urge to come before you and share my experiences that I've worked at both of the opposing environments. This is my 3rd year working at McAllen Elementary. Prior to this, I worked in Sherryland at Shimatsu Elementary, which happens to be their newest elementary facility. I came back to McAllen because this is my home, and it's where I've invested my heart and my loyalty. Not only am I a product of McAllen ISD, I'm employed here, and my children are students at Milam as well. It wasn't until I started working at Milam that I noticed the drastic differences in facilities. My first concern as a parent was safety. An enclosed campus undoubtedly provides the most protection and safety for our students. Any students who are housed in portables are at a greater risk. At Milam, we have a gated campus. However, at any given moment, a determined person can very well jump those fences and force themselves into a portable or the building itself. Moreover, during inclement weather, students in the portables have to come inside the building just to use the restroom, stepping out into the cold numerous times during the day or when raining and getting wet. And that is something that should not be tolerated at McAllen ISD. Also, students have to leave the portable unattended. And although the distance they have to walk in order to reach the building is minute, we still put that student at risk in the event of a potential intruder. We carry a prosperous reputation high upon our shoulders here at McAllen ISD, and these examples are not indicative of that reputation. The cafeteria is another area of concern. We are plagued with serious safety issues in the event of a real lockdown. Cafeterias in open campuses are not suited for lockdown procedures. There is no room to escort students into a protected area. Intruders can very well look into the cafeteria and spot students and staff out in the open. There is no deterrent in place that would pose obstacles for anyone who may target these areas. Furthermore, due to the outdated infrastructure of our facility, students are not properly dispersed by age. We have 5th grade students and pre-K students using the restrooms simultaneously. As a parent and educator, this is a very uncomfortable setup. A facility should be properly aligned to support the safety of our students in all aspects. This outdated infrastructure does not support 21st century teaching and learning. As the demands of our curriculum increase, the contrast between expectations and support are more tangible. State-of-the-art facilities are a platform for technological gains. Our facilities can no longer support this platform. Our classrooms are not built for projectors or computers. It is very difficult to set up a classroom with a projector in the center with access to a computer and a document reader simultaneously without having wires stemming out from under desks and tables. This is a safety hazard within the classroom because it is impossible to set up in a conducive, efficient, and protective manner without violating some safety code.
You have 2 minutes.
Modern facilities are also equipped with phones in every classroom. I cannot express enough how this amenity is direct contact to the office and having to shout out into an intercom system. It is also extremely beneficial when conducting parent conferences over the phone. Quite frequently we are forced to use our personal cell phones in order to communicate with parents and attain privacy that we can't access anywhere else. In addition, I firmly believe that having direct contact with the counselors and nurses is a necessity in order to provide adequate support and rapid response in case of an emergency. Additionally, the lack of a science lab is essentially unacceptable. As teachers, we are expected to expose students to science experiments at every grade level without being properly equipped for these demands. I was appalled when learning at what Ms. Weaver's class had to do in order to conduct one science experiment. Most classrooms do not have that type of parental involvement or support. Moreover, the testing grades are not at liberty to spend so much time preparing for one science experiment when we have the pressure of state testing under our belt. This diminishes morale and does not nurture tactile learning. Nonetheless, I feel very blessed to work at a campus that does mirror great leadership and houses the most dedicated staff I've ever worked with. With a lot of extra effort, we manage to hurdle obstacles and moreover focus on the positive. If we are able to stay on top of such limits, imagine what we could do without these barriers. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ayala. We'll move to speaker number 3, Amy Ramirez, and the topic is voice my opinion in support of approval of the school bond as recommended by the Facilities Advisory Committee. Good evening.
Ms. Ramirez, you have 5 minutes. I'll give you a 2-minute warning.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Amy Ramirez, and I'm a local nurse practitioner, McAllen property owner, and business owner, mother to a student at McAllen ISD schools, where I spend my extra time supporting the school as an active PTO member. I would like to express my support of the approval and call the vote of the bond as presented 2 weeks ago by the Forecast Facilities Advisory Committee by summarizing the results and emphasizing their hard work and research. As most of you may know, this bond proposal was not taken lightly, nor created out of thin air as a free-for-all high-tech wish list. It was formulated after 18 months of hard work, meetings, and volunteer time. A preset list of guiding principles were used to ensure a systematic analysis for equity across all campuses, to raise them all to the same standard. Tours and interviews were conducted with engineers, architects, builders, and school finance experts, as well as input that was gathered from parents, teachers, and staff. In addition to the previously mentioned items, the following are reasons why I support the proposed school bond. We need 21st century learning centers. Science and tech labs are necessary. With the growth of STEM subjects across the nation, our children need these skills to be able to compete post-high school. 70% of our schools are 20 years or older, 40% are more than 40 years old, and even some more than 50. Valuable and usable elements will be salvaged for refurbishing, and we need permanent buildings to replace those portables. Cafeteria capacity needs to be expanded to give children more time to eat and properly digest their food. What does giving them a 15-minute rush lunch teach them? Improving and expanding the Early Achieve College and IB programs, including automotive, welding, cosmetology, technology. This can only help us by providing jobs to graduates that are able to work right out of high school, as well as reducing unemployment and crime in our area. Improving our schools will bring back McAllen residents to our schools. We transferred out of the district to newer, more attractive, state-of-the-art facilities. With this future regional economic growth of the coming medical school and SpaceX, we will increase property value by creating a district that will attract families to our schools and in turn want to live in our city. Last fall, 42 schools across Texas passed bonds for similar needs. Let's join them to keep McAllen residents in our schools and give them the best education in the Valley. Let's transform our school and transform our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. We'll now move to speaker 4, Kendall Geralt, and her topic is addressing career and technology and the agricultural facility needs and encouraging a vote in favor of calling the bond election.
Mr. Earl, you have 5 minutes, and I'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good afternoon. My name is Kendall Geralt. I'm 16 years old, and I am a graduating junior at McAllen High School. I've been in FFA, or the Future Farmers of America program, for 3 years. I am currently serving as the president of our chapter. Last year I was the treasurer, and I've been involved in numerous things such as shop projects, raising goats, cattle, raising plants, rabbits, and doing career development events and leadership development events. My freshman year, I decided to take the leap and take an ag class. It was one of the best decisions that I had ever made. I decided to raise a goat, and since the ag farm was all the way across town, we decided to keep the goat in my backyard.
Yay.
It was really fun, and I had a really great experience, but next year I decided to make the even bigger leap and start raising cattle. Both of my parents decided that I could not keep a cow in the backyard.
Yeah.
So I moved to the ag farm.
Good choice.
I love the farm, and I love the people there, and the memories that I've made there are absolutely unforgettable, and I will treasure them for the rest of my life. But there are some issues. One of the biggest things I have to worry about is I show bulls, and they're not the most gentle animals. So they can be really destructive, and one of the biggest things we have to worry about is I am constantly worrying about whether my animal is in his pen and is contained, because sometimes the fences aren't super reliable, and so I always, like, every time I go out there, I'm just like, oh my gosh, is my bull in my pen? Like, is everything okay? And also, one of the biggest things that we've noticed in the shop classes
is that the shops aren't big enough to accommodate the projects that we want to do. One of the biggest things this year, we got a new ag teacher. His name is Mr. Denny, and he is incredible. But one of the things we wanted to do was make a trailer pit. So the big, huge trailers with the barbecue pits on them, but we don't have a facility at this point that will accommodate that with the plugs and outlets that we need for the welders. So I just think that passing this bond issue would mean huge things for the Career and Technology Department, especially the FFA program at all 3 schools. Because if we could get a shop class or an ag farm that are better suited to meet the modern needs of what the students have, then we could be one of the best chapters, or 3 of the best chapters in Texas. FFA has been one of the best experiences that I've ever had in my life. And I just urge you guys to think about, if you're on the fence about voting for this bond issue, I urge you, in addition to thinking about the dollars it's going to cost the taxpayers or the time it's going to cost the district, also think about the positive impact that modernized facilities can have on tomorrow's learners and tomorrow's FFA members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alt. Okay, we are now going to, do I have to close this one? Do I have to close? I will now adjourn the special meeting at 7 p.m. And we are going to invite Mr. Gilberto Maldonado with Pasos to the front, who has a check presentation for the district. And
Why did we make him wait?
and Travis Middle School. We'll reopen the 5 o'clock at 7 p.m. Mr. Maldonado?
Yes, thank you very much. Dr. Ponce, Ms. Lagarza, thank you so much on behalf of the Texas Valley Communities Foundation, board members, and our founder, Dr. Roland Ariola. Those of you who are not familiar with the Community Foundation, we were actually started here in McAllen, then we made a short move over to be more centralized to the Valley in Mercedes. The foundation has been in existence since 2006. It is our goal to raise funding to invest back into our community. It is hard in the Rio Grande Valley to look for funding. As you have heard from many of the parents and folks who are here, we were very blessed in 2006 with McAllen ISD that we did receive a grant from the largest philanthropic trust, which is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We did intense research on trying to find out what was the #1 reason why we, not just this district, but the entire Rio Grande Valley was undergoing huge, significant dropouts. Why were we failing on our children? We got in folks from Rice University, we got folks in from the University of Texas Pan American and the University of Texas at Austin. We were very grateful that Ms. Alcalde let us work with her parent involvement. And Dr. Ponce also came along and we said, let's have our first session, one of our first sessions here in McAllen. 400 parents showed up to a session. Board members, you should be very proud of your administration. 400 parents showed up, filled out surveys, and in every survey that we saw over and over again, parents would say, más información. Queremos más información tocante becas, tocante financial aid, tocante cómo puedo preparar a mi hijo y a mi hija para ir a un instituto como Harvard. Time evolved, and we knew we couldn't just do a one-shot deal anymore. We had to basically work at working with parents. How do you work with parents? How do you change the dynamics of a family at their home? And that is very hard to do. But when we had our foundation coming along, we got a partner on, which is Harvard University, extremely generous with their commitment that they have been doing also with your math teachers as well, in a different partnership with the Texas Graduate Center. But while we were at Cambridge, we found out one thing. Harvard has done intense research on how the family can change, how the dynamics of a family can change if you work very intensely at aiming for 3 goals. And the 3 goals are focusing on student attendance, student behavior, and academic success. Those three are one of the most important features that we have in the Rio Grande Valley, that we can work with parents. But we have to find partners. We have to find sources of funding. It is my pleasure to present to you that I have brought with me today our Vice President for Pasos, which is Giovanni Ferrigno here, and he has brought some of our donors with us. And I'll let them speak for themselves on how they have done with this wonderful program. Our first is going to be Ms. Alma Ortega Johnson, which is President for the South Texas Division. And Alma has seen some of our sessions as well, done in other districts. And Ms. Ortega, if you'd like to give some comments.
Well, I guess I can talk here, right? Well, it is a privilege for Wells Fargo to partner with Texas Valley Communities Foundation in working together on grassroots efforts to improve education in this community. I had the opportunity and the honor to be the keynote speaker in the graduation in PSJ, and it was amazing to see the impact on the mothers when they were graduating and see the children taking pictures and how proud they felt to see their mothers graduating, and it was a great example. I was almost crying just to see the little children doing that, but it is absolutely our commitment in Wells Fargo to support education, and I'm so excited that it's going to be expanded to McAllen ISD.
Great. And I also have Yoli Gonzalez, who is a district manager, also for the district area here, who has been very gracious with her funding as well to the district. Ms. Gonzalez, if you'd like to give some comments on the program.
Yes, good evening. Just want to indicate that it has been a great privilege to be working with Texas Valley Communities Foundations and other school districts, and we're very proud to be able to come on board to McAllen ISD. We've seen the impact on bringing financial literacy to the children, most importantly to the parents, so really looking forward to helping them find greater support in some of the tools that are available for our parents so that they can help our children in putting the right foot in the door for college.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board quickly? Well, on behalf of the board, we'd like to thank you, Wells Fargo and Pasos, for your commitment to our region and our city and our children, most importantly, and to continued success. So thank you so much. I think we have a quick photo.
Yes, we have a quick check for the photo, video, but we also don't want to forget, Dr. Ponce, you always told us that when the child takes this home, the learning really begins. So you will be happy to know that with the other districts, we're not able to do what we're able to do. So the A+ is going to exist. We have also a team of coders and programmers working to develop an app so that the parent that is not able to join us, and by the way, the parents will be paid through a scholarship that will be developed. And we're hoping that that scholarship for the parents that are nominated and registered goes to their investment. But the parents that are not able to come, they will be able to use the app, translate in English and Spanish, and be able to gain that knowledge as well.
Excellent.
We can be lifted a little bit. Yeah, perfect. Everybody smile in 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Okay, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
And the faculty from Harvard will actually be here next coming semester, and we invite all of you as board members to attend that session. Good. Good to see you.
Alrighty. Jumping back into the agenda, item 8B1, discussion of the Texas Association of School Board TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 101, first reading. Dr. Barrera?
Yes, ma'am, and good evening. This
Good
is a
evening.
first reading for a policy update, and what we do here is we contract with the Texas Association of School Boards to routinely provide us with updates to our policies. First and foremost, this is all done on the legal side of the policies, and then they are TASB Administrative Services puts them into the local format and then sends them to us. And what we do is we take these policy updates and we distribute them to the impacted departments, let them review them, and then we bring them back for approval. This evening, this is our first reading, and at our next meeting then we'll bring it back again for approval of the update. This brings up the 101st update manual to McAllen ISD. And when I first started here, I could say we were like at number 62 or something, and we're already at 101. So it's really moved a long way. A lot of changes, a lot of updates have gone on throughout the years. So now at the next meeting, we'll be asking for approval of this update.
Thank you, Dr. Barrera. Any questions or comments from the board? Move to item 8C, Business Operations Briefing. Ms. Lopez, number 1, approval of 2014-15 updated list of Certified Professional Development and Appraisal System PDAS appraisers.
Yes, ma'am, we need the listing of the 9 additional PDAS appraisers approved this evening. We do bring listings to the board throughout the year, usually at the beginning of the year, but as we add more folks, we do need them approved to help the campuses with the appraising that's going on.
Thank you.
Appraisals that are going on.
This is for approval tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Vella and a second by Trustee Esparza. Any questions or comments from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Item passes 6-0. Item 8C2, approval of the McAllen Independent School District January budget amendment for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2014 and ending June 30th, 2015. Ms. Lopez?
Yes, ma'am, we do have the budget amendment for the general fund that is listed. We do have some revenues that are being adjusted, including an insurance recovery amount for Pettis Elementary fire damage, the large amount there. We also, the bigger part of this amendment does have to do with the state revenues. You see summary of finance adjustments to the different funds listed there by title. The biggest adjustment, though, is a negative adjustment towards our general fund. We are behind 500 students, just over 500 students for this fiscal year. We are hoping to recoup some of those students in the spring semester, but we are making a mid-year adjustment in terms of the budget. This does take us through the third 6 weeks of the year for this adjustment. On the expenditure side, one of the offsets to that decrease in state revenues that we're estimating right now, since we had anticipated a 1% growth, we had also set aside a teacher contingency amount to hire the teachers as needed for that growth. So most of the offset is going towards that teacher contingency account there, and it's listed there. We also have some smaller dollar amounts on the second page of that function. We're talking about functions 11, 13, 21, 31, 41, and 51. But that's on the general fund. In terms of the debt service, we're also making a summary of finance adjustment to through the third 6 weeks, again, because of the student counts. And this would actually help pay for the bonds. It looks like it's $169,000 right now. We do have fund balance, though, in debt service, so we don't, obviously we'd like to see the students, the attendance on the students and just additional enrollment to help offset this. But regardless, we do have some fund balance and debt service to help us.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, we'll now move to item 8D, the superintendent's briefing items. Dr. Ponce?
Yes, we have one item today. McAllen Mariachi Oro did it again, winning the state championship second year in a row. So congratulations to students, staff, and parents. We're all very proud of their accomplishments. We have some film here that we want.
We worked really hard to get this. Coming back from last year, we lost half the group. Like, it was an amazing group last year, and then working hard all together. We got our music like in Christmas, barely. And like we worked like the whole time. Like Trevino pushed us because he's the man. Like helped us, and we wouldn't have done it without him, and we have natural talent, I guess.
It was basically a new group, and at the beginning of the year we were playing songs that weren't really challenging, and towards around December we started to realize that, hey, we actually have a chance. We can work harder and harder and harder.
We practice every day after school. Like, we have a class period, but not everyone is in the class period. So after school it's just a lot of work and a lot of dedication.
Like, we're all really excited, and it makes it even more special that we were able to do this for the second time in a row, especially coming from our winter assembly where we were like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, and then to like now, which is only 2 months later, and we were able to do a great job. So I'm just really thankful, I think, for Mr. Trevino mostly.
I guess it's pretty incredible to come from a group, like people said, that we had a bunch of seniors and they were like in for like 2, 3 years, 4 years even, and they were gone and we were like kind of scared without him, like because we didn't know what to do. And then so it's kind of nice that we won again. Like, they taught us well, and Mr. Trevino taught us really well, and yeah, we work well together. He knows what's up.
Congratulations. Thank you, Dr. Ponce, and congratulations again to our McAllen Mariachi Oro. We'll move to item 8E, Board of Trustees briefing items. 1, and this is also for approval tonight, approval of Board of Education meeting minutes for meetings A and B, January 26th at 5 and 6:15 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by trustee Vella and a second by trustee Saldivar. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Item passes 6-0. Move to item 9. Schedule of future meetings are listed in A and B for February 23rd. No reason to go into closed session nor open session. This meeting is now adjourned at 7:18 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.